At Crossroads, we try to present content that really answers questions that people are asking, and this documentary is such a thing. We want to bring to you, our viewers, our friends, our partners, content that contextualize your life, your neighbors' lives, people you worship with, the people that you work with, the people that are in your neighborhood. We're not trying to glamorize this issue at all. What we're trying to do is present the issue and offer some answers with the love of God in mind. This particular subject is very important to me because I've had members of my own extended family get caught up in this darkness. I know what it can do. And it is so important that we become informed and that we, instead of cursing darkness, offer light. And this documentary is a way for us to do this. I want you to see more of what we have to say and what we're learning in this documentary. It seemed to have started in the late 1980s. You could have a severe operation, you could have cancer, you could be at the end of your life, and doctors would be very stingy in prescribing these painkillers because they knew that they would become addictive. However, according to Dr. David Juurlink of Sunnybrook Health Sciences Centre in Toronto, things began to change over the years.
There came a push to use opioids more aggressively than we had before. And the messaging that was delivered to doctors was actually pretty clear. It was that these drugs are stronger than the other alternatives out there, that the risk of addiction is very, very low, less than 1%, that you could use these drugs safely in the long term. So that push came from a variety of sources, but at the genesis of it was the pharmaceutical companies that made these drugs and clearly had an interest in their use, particularly in long-term patients. I mean, the market there is huge.
As you can see, 50 milligrams per dose here.
Experts would travel around the country and give talks to doctors and say, listen, if you're not prescribing these drugs more readily, you're doing a disservice to your patients. And so doctors were actually, I think, quite happy to hear that message. They've got very few options to treat the pain. Unfortunately, the experts who imparted that evidence to thousands and thousands of doctors were wrong.
Our body immediately, when it metabolizes a medication like an opiate or another drug like, say, cocaine, we can develop an instantaneous addiction to that. Our body senses the pleasure, and that's where all addiction centers in the pleasure system in the brain, similar to we enjoy good food and sugar and social, camaraderie with individuals. Problem is that our brain puts it at a much more important category than food or social interaction.
Best available evidence right now suggests that about 1/3 of people who begin these drugs come to misuse them at some point or display some feature consistent with aberrant drug use. As the dose goes up, then we see the dependence and the risk of addiction and the risk of respiratory depression, the slowing of the drive to breathe, which is largely responsible for the deaths that we see.